Mr. Precise, one of the questions that my brother Jubril brought up was about credit. He was talking about being careful about the type of money that you get. A lot of people don't understand that credit can be a blessing, but it also can be a curse. Uh, People don't understand that once you get credit, credit is the only thing that you can take from nothing to get something, right? But we have to be very strategic on why we're using our credit. The real purpose of credit is so you can build. So it's like the story when Jesus gave the person a talent, gave different people talent. And once you get that credit, you have to be willing to multiply that credit because credit is a loan, it's not a grant. So when everybody went through the seasons of the PPP and the SBA and all this free money, people forget the principle of what credit really is. What is a line of credit, right? So when you do have credit, before you use the credit, you have to figure out what institution, how can I make this credit work for
Yeah.
me, right? That's the most important part. How do I make this credit work for me? How do I make this credit grow? So you don't want to use a credit card for bills. Credit card is not an emergency fund. That's not what it was created for. Credit was for you to be able to build wealth with somebody else's money, right? So now what you have to do, you have to understand that, hey, I want to create wealth. What institution, what products that I can use to be able to get wealth with a line of credit. Not a line of credit is going to get me out this jam. If you're already in the jam, that's okay. That's not what it's for. The credit is for you to make a profit. Once you make the profit, you pay the credit back off. Now you're able to get more funding. Now you're able to get more money. Now you've been a good steward with the credit, right? So now, remember in the story of Jesus, one person took the credit and they buried the credit, they hid the credit, right? So now we got to ask yourself, what person are we in that parable? Is I'm that person that's going to take the credit and make it more money. And that's the whole purpose of credit. Understanding that this debt is a good debt as long as I use it for something positive. But if I do not use this credit for something positive, what God has made good for me now has just made a curse. And that's how it affects my life in a negative way. So that's just to answer his question about credit. Somebody had their hand raised. You can take yourself on mute and ask the question. I'd love to answer it for you. No question?
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Okay, Mr. Craig.
You said that, you use credit to make money for you. Can you give an example of how you do such a thing? How you use it positively, I think is what you said.
I would love to give you an example. One way that you can use credit as passive income is real estate, right? So when we're dealing with real estate, depending on what method that you want to use, you can use the credit card method. So let's just say you get 100,000, right? Now in the city of Chicago, we have property that is probably I can buy for like 50,000, but once I get it assessed, it probably prays for let's just say 80,000 or 70,000. Let's just say 60,000, $10,000 profit. So what I would do is pull the money from my credit card. How do you pull the money from the credit card? You get a merchant account. What are merchant account? Chase have a merchant account. Is anything that you can receive money from. So what I use is QuickBooks, right? So y'all can write that down. QuickBooks is a merchant account. So what you do is you send yourself an invoice. When you send yourself an invoice, you take the money from the credit card, and now it's gonna go to your bank account. Now I have 50,000 in my bank account. What I do with that 50,000, I don't go to Jamaica. I don't go on vacation. I take that 50,000 to go buy me some property. Once I buy that property, now I use the 50,000 for the property. I flip the property. I make 60,000. I pay the 50,000 back. I just made me a $10,000 profit. A profit. That's one way, right? Another way is, let's just say I start an Airbnb. So I use my credit card to furnish my Airbnb. Now I'm renting out the Airbnb. I'm getting passive income every month. That passive income pay back off the credit card. Now we have different credit cards, and certain credit cards give you different rewards, right? So now I just turn my credit into cash. So now I can travel for free. Now I can buy designer clothes. Now I have different perks. So it's so many different ways that you can use your credit to make it positive. The third way, let's just say I want to get into a Toro business, right? Did you know that you can get 6 to 12 cars or more on your personal credit, right? Now, if you're smart, we get our personal credit together. Once we get our personal credit together, we start the business. Once I start the business, I put everything in my business name. So I'm going to leverage my personal credit and put it into my business name, even business credit cards, right? So now business are meant to have debt. Personal credit is not meant to carry debt because you want to keep your credit utilization at least 10%. How do I do that? And I go buy properties and cars and all these things, like you said. What I'm going to do is I'm going to establish my personal. Once I establish my personal, now I'm about to establish my business. So now I take things out of my personal name, I put it inside the business, and now I'm making debt into good debt because what? You don't have a utilization when it comes to business because business owners need debt. So once I understand that, now I can have a fleet of cars that I'm renting out, but it all started with no money because I used my personal credit to get the Toro business started. I used my personal credit to get the Airbnb started. I used my personal credit to start my real estate.